Welcome to the 14th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, 1966 team captain Mike Irwin, and Casey Kantz of WTAJ Sports. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By The Bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, and magazines. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. Your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By the easy-to-use Big Book. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the NitWits on AltoonaMirror.com.
Hey, good day to you. It's week 9 of the NitWits. Yes, Mike, we are on TV. So
that was my fault. I'm sorry.
Let's get it going here. Penn State squeaks out another one. They win their 7th straight, beat Illinois Saturday 10-7 at Beaver Stadium. And I want to start, if we can, with something that Mark said last week that's different from this team this year as opposed to last year. They're winning these games. I mean, this was such a tough game to watch the first, 3.5 quarters, we'll say. And you put in Derek Moy, who we were all surprised to see. Matt McGloin catches the spark. They come back and win 10-7. I mean, that was just an exciting win, I guess, down the stretch.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the weather was ugly. The offenses were ugly. The special teams were ugly. But Penn State gets another beautiful win. I mean, to be able to pull that out, improve to 8-1. Wisconsin loses. Now, all of a sudden, you have a 2-game lead in the division. This has been just fun to watch. I mean, it's crazy. It's maddening. The fans, it's very difficult on the fans, but to cover it and to watch it, it's been really fun to see. And obviously, Joe Paterno gets another milestone, so big weekend.
Neil, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think this defense is really proving to be special, and I'm impressed with the poise the offense has shown when it's had to in a lot of these games. Clearly, the offense is keeping both teams in the game, and I really think they're going to have to improve significantly to win any of the last 3. But it has been fun so far, and they've played with a lot of poise. They've played with some of the old Penn State way.
Mike, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot has to do with the attitude of the team. A lot of times in the past you're looking for ways to lose, but now they're looking for ways to win. And I agree, the defense has kept them in. If you like defense, it was a good game to watch because both these defenses are outstanding defenses. I think, especially Penn State, I think we have a lot to look forward to with this defensive team that they have out there.
We'll talk about the defense a little more coming up a little bit later in the show, but I mentioned it quickly there. Derek Moy. I don't know, guy. I mean, you didn't see this coming, did you? He wasn't supposed to return for a couple of weeks, correct?
I think Joe's undefeated now in ruling people out who then play that week. But you could tell his presence meant a lot to the offense. He and McGloin have a great chemistry, and it also, it also helps free Justin Brown.
Mark, we saw the pass interference call there. What do you think? Good call?
Yeah, I think it was a legit call. I think if you go back and look at it, I think he could have caught the ball even with the interference. But, they've had those go against them in the past, and I don't think that was a bad call. You know what? Maybe here's a guy, a real respected player. Maybe you do get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. One of the real funny things, he was wearing Lyman spikes. So I don't know if you watch the highlights, he has these big boot things on.
The laces were how did he trip over the laces? They
Yeah.
showed that close-up a couple times. The laces are hanging out over the shoe.
Well, what does it say about him? He's cleared to play on Thursday, had not practiced for how long, and they, when they finally need him, or they realize they need him, they get him in there late in the third quarter, and on that final drive, he's making big plays. I mean, that is something else. The one thing that you don't like is that earlier in the game, their other receivers who had seemed to be playing better were not really picking it up. In that game, I mean, they only completed passes to 4 different guys, and they were lucky that Moy came back late.
I think they were taking a lot of caution with him. I mean, I think they knew he could play if they really needed him, and in this case, they really did need him. And I'm glad. The other thing about that throw at the end, to Moy in the end zone, that was a gutsy throw. I mean, fourth down, it's not somebody you'd think he'd be looking for.
Did he know? I mean, Moy was working on a third-string corner there. Do you think McGloin noticed that and said, let's pick on him, or was that just
he said that a couple other routes were jumped, and then he went to Moy late. So, I mean, I think that shows you about his ability to read defenses and the progression.
Right. I asked him, because you wonder, is that something he checks off to? Maybe he sees that. And he said no, that it comes in and you have 2 reads. I think they had Justin Brown underneath. And he said he saw Moy breaking behind him, and that's the one thing you really like about McGloin. I mean, he did not have a great game, but he has confidence in himself, and that never wavers. And to throw it up there to a guy that size, wow, gutty play.
Well, and if you don't make that play, game over.
Yep, exactly right.
Fourth down, and Moy made a great effort. We thought he caught it originally, but I guess he dropped it. But clearly,
and that's the great thing, Mike. They're making those plays this year.
Yeah,
and they believe they can make those plays.
Nice story for Moy, because he dropped the ball on third down, and then they came right back to him. Get the ball to your best player. And Joe had said to McQuarrie or Jay or both, make sure we have our best wide receivers in the game, because they had already had 3 drops up until that point.
Yeah. Guys, we are just getting started. When we return, we go inside another premier showing by the Penn State defensive unit. We talked about it briefly. We'll talk about it more in depth. Coming out, we'll also talk about another great day for Silas Red. Stay with us.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By the bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, and magazines. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental.
Hi, I'm Daryl Clark.
And I'm Brett Brackett. And you're watching the NitWits.
Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome back. The Penn State defense, once again, the focal point of another Nittany Lion win, gave the offense every opportunity Saturday, and the big reason this team is still perfect in conference play. Guys, defense. What more can you say?
I know their front 7 has gotten a lot of attention, and Hodges with 19 stops, but I would like to shout out to their safeties. I thought Astorino really came up early in the game and set a tone with his tackling, and Suke had a big play in the game and forced the fumble.
Definitely.
Yeah, the defensive tackles have been unbelievable. I mean, when you have Still and Hill, the Still-Hill show, combining for 20 tackles, I mean, defensive tackles typically don't make that many stops, and I think it's all starting right there. And, Hodges, to me, is looking like an All-American, too. I mean, the way he's flying around, making plays, causing fumbles, getting stuff done. And the other play that I really like, Sean Stanley, on that bobbled field goal. If you go back and look at it, what a heads-up play. He was actually on the line and had to peel back into coverage. And, I mean, they have guys, again, it's kind of the whole theme of the season. Guys are making plays and getting the job done.
Mike, how about the defense?
No, I think they're playing with a lot of confidence. And plays I remember at the end of the game after we had gone ahead, I mean, Chaz Powell over there, raising the roof to the fans to get behind us here. But then the defense went up and played a lot tighter on the corners. Were playing a lot tighter. They're getting more aggressive all the time, and it's fun to watch that team. I mean, I think I don't know how many turnovers there were yesterday, 5 or 6 turnovers. They keep causing all these turnovers, and I echo Mark's remark about Hodges. I think he's an outstanding. I think he had 19 tackles yesterday, and he's just playing unbelievable.
Yeah, he seems to play
right
better week after week, and we should probably just keep talking about him. It seems that we talked about him last week, and he has another career high this week. How about the hit Suke had on Shieldhouse? You mentioned that. Huge hit. I thought it was a great hit, though. Was that?
I guess the announcers thought it might have been helmet to helmet.
They did.
But, you know, your quarterback is loose. Same thing last week with Persa. When you're going to have a running quarterback, he's now a running back. I didn't know whether he caught his helmet or not, but it was a big hit, a big play.
Well, I think the QB was kind of going down, too. I think both guys were culpable in that. I don't think anybody tried to do anything. But for Suke, he brought it on that play, and I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the kind of hits that you have to lay on people. I don't think he was going after anybody's helmet, and he did get a good piece of the ball, obviously, jarred it free, and they were able to get the turnover.
I like how Carson played. You know, they started him at middle linebacker this year, and I thought up until now he's been a little more quiet. He really filled hard, and Stupar has really done a nice job considering he was not a starter at the beginning of the season.
The other thing, if you look at it, I mean, the defense was on the field a long time, and they were getting a lot of subs in there. Even the defensive tackles coming in for Still and Hill were playing well. Jones and Terry, is it Terry?
Yep.
And some of those guys were getting a chance. Even the backup D-backs, I think, were doing well. I mean, Malcolm Willis coming in there, and Amos Adrian. I mean, some of these younger guys getting an opportunity, too. So,
let me ask you, Penn State forcing turnovers, but, the Penn State offense fumbled the football, I believe, 6 times. And I don't think the weather was a factor. At least it didn't seem to be.
That's like 23, 24 fumbles for the year.
So is that a concern?
Yeah.
Big time.
23 fumbles for the year. They're probably, I saw Mike in the record book, your team of 65 fumbled 40 times.
How many of those were by Mike?
That's what we wanted.
Is that why we lost all those
40 times, Mike. How many of those were yours?
1965, you really went back.
Defend yourself.
No,
He's going to drop his
You
pen.
were on defense that year.
I'll say, no, I wasn't. I was on offense that year. And, really, I did have a couple fumbles in the Michigan State game, but I mean, when you have Clinton or George Webster and Bubba Smith and some of those guys coming out, you'd probably fumble too, Dale.
It was pretty nasty down there. I mean, we got down there at the end of the game, and it was wet and raw and cold, and that doesn't explain 6 fumbles. And, a guy like Silas Redd, what a great year he's having. He had a key fumble. He has really got to lock up that pigskin. I mean, you get it when the QBs fumble a little bit, but Silas Redd has got to do it's not been a huge problem for him, but he's got to lock it up.
But, it almost cost us the game there. I mean, we held them, I think, the first 7 times they had the ball. They didn't get a first down. And then we turned the ball over at about the 35-yard line or something when Bolden fumbles and they come in and score. I mean, it could have come back to haunt us.
Well, this defense really deserves a better offense. And, I mean, had they lost this game, it really would have fallen at the feet of this quarterback rotation and how they've chosen to continue to play Bolden.
They're trying to explain this thing away, and there is no explanation. I mean, McGloin is the better quarterback. He did not have a great game in this game, but how much of that stems from the fact that you throw Bolden in there, you ruin McGloin's rhythm. At the end of the day, Penn State is last in the Big Ten in pass efficiency. They're 109th in the nation, and that's they have botched this quarterback situation. They have to go with one guy and stick with one guy, and I think it should be McGloin.
Well, I mean, in defense, I mean, I know this isn't very popular, but I mean, McGloin wasn't doing the job the first quarter. And I mean, Bolden obviously laid an egg when he did come in there. I mean, I'm not sure
he laid a whole hen house.
Let's hold those thoughts because we're going to get to it in the next segment.
Okay. Whatever, you're the boss, Casey. Whatever you say. Whatever you say.
We're going to spend a whole segment on that coming up because we heard some boos actually at Beaver Stadium yesterday that concerned Mr. Rob Bolden. We'll tell you all about that coming up next. Stay with us.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Pacifico's Bakery. Genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs.
Now back to Nitwits. A roundtable look at Nittany Lion football.
Yes, it is, guys. Time to talk quarterbacks. Really starting to feel for Rob Bolden. Just doesn't have it. Didn't complete a pass on Saturday and was booed by the Beaver Stadium faithful. Neil, your thoughts on that?
Well, I hate to see any college kid booed. I realize there's some circumstances with Bolden, after the bowl game and the family's threat to transfer. I don't like it. I think people are frustrated with the coaching staff and the situation more than they're actually booing the kid himself. And I hope the coaches don't put him in this situation. I think they're being unfair. After being so fair to him most of the season, I think they're now being unfair to him by continuing to play him.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that the fans were booing the decision, but it doesn't come across that way. And if you're a fan, listen, I don't think you should boo the kid like that. I mean, it makes no sense. You know, something to take into consideration, he's still only in his second year.
That's right.
I mean, McGloin had the opportunity to play on the foreign team against the first-team defense for 2 seasons, and I think that's what the difference between these two guys are. You really have to wonder if it wouldn't be better for Bolden, if he is the second-team guy the rest of this year, to take a red shirt next year. If Paul Jones comes back, they have the Morningwick kid coming in. If McGloin's healthy, you know, they kind of did that with Wally Richardson a few years back where they redshirted him midway through his career. And I really think that would allow him to take a step back, play against the first-team defense, learn some of these intangible qualities. He has the ability to be a good quarterback. He just doesn't have a great feel for things.
You know, I don't think this is going to be very popular with the rest of the panel here. But I can clearly see why they put Bolden in there in the second quarter because, I mean, McGloin wasn't getting the job done. Now, when things blew up and he was in there, and I agree with Neil that I think, you know, they were more the fans were upset about the staff making this decision to go with Bolden rather than sticking with McGloin because once he got hit a couple times in there and some of the bad passes that he threw. And I blame the staff a lot for the problems that Bolden's having. I mean, I think he was a lot better last year than he is this year. He's not progressing at all, and I don't know. He's sitting in that pocket, and they are getting to him, and he doesn't have a lot of pocket presence. But maybe they should be doing some other things with him. Maybe letting him roll out a little bit or roll right, making these quick decisions.
Well, they're also the opponent sees what's going on, and they understand that he doesn't react that well to pressure. They're sending linebackers, they're sending the kitchen sink at him, and he doesn't seem to feel pressure very well at all, and it's just sort of all magnifying. And he ended up getting 4 series yesterday.
So is there a benefit to keep going with him, whether it is in coming in a platoon role, or do we just give it to McGloin from now on?
See, I think they're locked into this situation now because if something would happen to McGloin, they don't have I don't think their third-team quarterback. We don't know anything about it, McGregor, or how good he would be. But I think we'll be okay next year because you got Jones coming back, you got a freshman coming in. But getting through this year could be a hassle if something would happen to McGloin.
But you can't look at it that way, Mike. I mean, they played the entire 1994 season with Wally Richardson redshirting, and you know Kerry Collins stayed healthy the entire year. And now, if something had happened to Kerry Collins, yeah, then you go ahead and play the other guy. But Bolden has played enough that he should be okay to come in off the bench in case of an injury. But I just think McGloin has been so much better overall across the course of the season that you got to pick one guy and stick with him.
And he's been so mentally tough. I mean, to come back from the Florida game, to come back with how he played against Alabama, to come back yesterday after he was pulled in the second quarter and lead a touchdown drive. I mean, where would they be without this guy? The last time he didn't play was last year's Illinois game when they lost by 20.
But wait a minute. You're anointing this guy. I mean, they were lucky yesterday. They got 10 points in the game. And he
you think Bolden could have brought him the length of the field at the end of the game?
No, I'm arguing about it. I mean, he's not the guy that is going to take him to the promised land, I don't think. Maybe he will, but we got 3 tough games coming up. And I'm saying, I'll go with he's the better quarterback, and you got to play him because you don't have another choice.
Nobody's anointing him anything.
Who's
saying
going
he's the better
to the promised
quarterback.
land?
Yeah.
He's just saying the better
we're looking to the promised land.
Promised land was the
way to get to
Disneyland.
All right,
I'm not sure what land we're going to land with this.
The Capital One Bowl.
Guys, we're up against it. It's the much-needed bye week up next. Penn State, right where they want to be, 8-1, still perfect in conference play. We'll talk about this team moving forward next. Stay with us.
The Nitwits are brought to you by J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By the easy-to-use Big Book. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
Hey, I'm Penn State wide receiver Derek Moore, and you're watching the NitWits.
Welcome back, Derek, huh? Big fashion yesterday. Guys, shouts out to the crowd Saturday, Happy Valley as well. Braving the weather and fortunately went home pleased. Can you imagine if Penn State lost that game? I mean, with the crowd braving the elements and the way it went. But it was good to see the crowd the way they were and maybe help this team a little bit, will them to victory there towards the end.
Yeah, I never drove down in such inclement weather. I mean, there have been big snowstorms a day or two in front of games, but I do give the crowd a lot of credit. It was estimated at 62,000, but just really shows the passion. They were loud at the end, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the people who were there did a nice job. One of the cool things, I'm not sure how much people could see it, was on that final field goal attempt, all the students rushing toward be behind the south goal post there. So that was pretty neat to see. We talked about it during the game, though. I mean, there are about 13,000 unsold seats, and boy, you kind of, the whole step thing, I'm on record as saying I think it's a positive for them, but you could definitely see where it's impacting them to a certain degree. And in this game, when they were struggling, there were people leaving the game at halftime in the third quarter, so I don't think there were any 62,000 there at the end, but the people who were there were loud, and give them a lot of credit because I think they helped impact that game.
Well, it's a tough thing when you have a decision, especially when you live relatively close to the stadium. I mean, when you're sitting there, you can sit in front of the big screen and watch the replays and everything. They're trotting down there and going to the game. And I think it was, I mean, the way it ended, everybody was there. I have to be so excited that they did go. But there for a while, I mean, it was like Mark said earlier, it was ugly. So, you know, you're sorry, you're fighting all this weather and everything else, and not traffic. You could almost park anywhere when you went down there.
So this team now 8-1, 5-0 in the Big Ten. How do they approach this bye week and beyond?
I think they'll probably get a couple days out of practice. I don't know. Will do a lot of the players go home this week?
Well, no, they still have classes and stuff. So this isn't.
I mean, for the weekend or what?
Right. You know, maybe kids would go home, you know, for the rest of this weekend. But I would assume, they have to be back Monday for classes and whatnot. You have to believe that this is going to be good for the guys who have played a ton of football. I mean, Silas Redd, 30 carries. How much has still been playing? And Hill and Hodges and, you know, the offensive linemen, they haven't really gotten those guys many breaks. So I just think for everybody it's going to be good to take a little bit of a step back and get healthy.
And I think everybody wants to know what Mike Irwin does during the bye week, because that's on everybody's mind.
Well, yeah, I sit around and watch football in the bye week and relax at home. I mean, I love watching these football games, and I mean, especially the Big Ten where it is now. I mean, Ohio State, Wisconsin, I mean, all these teams that were in our division.
It's so unpredictable. Iowa, just when you think they're starting to hit a stride, goes to Minnesota and loses. So pretty much anybody can beat just about anybody in the league.
All right, guys. Love it every week. We'll talk to you. We'll have a bye week show next week, right?
Yeah, we'll make our Nebraska predictions.
Our Nebraska picks then. That's correct. Hey, thanks for watching the NitWits. We'll talk to you next week. Good night.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By The Bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, and magazines. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just Ask Rental. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. Your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By the easy-to-use Big Book. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday. You can also see the NitWits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.